I guess let's go ahead and start with Peter's stuff. So, like I said, Peter has an interesting new video today. This is probably one of his more out there videos he's ever made, if not the most out there video. This is almost entirely about aliens, and Peter has decided to come and grace us and explain how, honestly, all politics has to do with aliens. I don't agree. Surprise. So let's check it out. And we also got a hats off, so I'm going to wear some glasses because a hat would heat me up right now.
I believe that aliens are experimenting on my family.
Now, I hate to be the person that, as a joke, stops the video 4 seconds in because it speaks for itself. But I'm going to stop the video 4 seconds in because it speaks for itself. Peter thinks his family is being experimented on by alien beings. I'm concerned for the safety of his family, if I'm being real. There's also a part in this I'm going to have to cut away from the video because he's going to show a picture of his daughter after she was born with some sort of health concern. She had holes in her body, and he puts pictures in, and it's not great, so.
I have 7 stories that are related to aliens to share with you today. I've never revealed all this, and I also have picture proof of one of those stories.
The picture proof, again, is his newborn daughter having some sort of health issue where she has holes in her body, and he has decided that aliens did it.
And as you can see, the pictures...
Nope! No.
Right here, it's a skin sample. My youngest daughter was born with 2 holes in her body that were perfectly cut out with a skin band-aid over, which could only have been done by aliens.
So I had Baha take a look at this. Baha is my girlfriend who is a PhD candidate in developmental genetics. Her cursory glance at this, she said it's probably spina bifida or some other condition like that. Peter thinks it's aliens, but no, it's not. His daughter just had some sort of neonatal medical issue that he refused to get treated because he thought it was aliens. Sky Comet Fallen says he needs help. No joke, he really needs help. He does. This is a job for Spider Horse. It's okay, the picture's already gone and I don't think it comes up again.
Not sure how, but anyway. I have 7 stories to tell you guys, and
don't say he refused to get it treated. Did you watch the rest of the video, Baha? At the end of the video, he says a doctor or a medical expert told him to come in and get it checked out, and he refused because he says, I know what it is. It's aliens. I'm not going to bring my daughter in to get looked at. So...
the reason I'm making this video is because Linda, who's someone I like in my comments...
Baha says, what? Yeah, I watched the rest of this video yesterday. At the end of the video, he explains that he did not take the daughter to get help for this. Because he knows, air quotes, that it's aliens, and he didn't feel the need to get it investigated further.
Comment section said, unless you knock this off about being abducted by space aliens and correct yourself, I will be unsubscribing you. Linda, I'm sorry to say...
Was she not born in a hospital? I don't know. He doesn't say. He's very vague even about who asked him. He doesn't say a doctor told me to come and bring her in to get checked out. He says someone who knows about medical things. It wouldn't, again, this is just my guess. It wouldn't surprise me if Peter and his wife do home births. Because remember, this is a guy who thinks the only medicine you need is marijuana, right? So it wouldn't surprise me if he has her have the kids at home or something in sort of a home birth situation. Mike Mack says, child services. Yes, this video.
that politics and aliens are one and the same topic now. I can't talk about politics without talking about aliens, because aliens and politics is really, really interconnected. Like, if people knew how much policies, how much politics all around the world was being influenced by aliens, You see what I'm talking about, especially.
Is it his most recent kid? I don't believe his third has been born yet. So he's talking about a daughter who has gotten older at this point.
With June 29th this year, the Pentagon is releasing what they know, declassifying what they know about UFOs, and they're releasing it to Congress, and it'll be public. Disclosure is happening right now. UFOs and aliens are in the news every single day now, from what I've seen. So I think it's time to tell people the full story of the 7 alien stories that I have. And please be polite. Viewer discretion is advised. If you're psychologically fragile, I suggest that this video is not for you. And Linda, if you don't want to watch this video, I get it. It's a startling thing.
So he's going to go on in this video. Again, I've watched this already. But he's going to go on in this video to Laughs and Rec Pod. Thank you for hosting. I appreciate that. He's going to go on to talk about his various, quote, abduction experiences or alien experiences, and after that he'll go on to explain how much anxiety it induces in him. And I completely believe that the anxiety that he feels is very real. I assume what's happening with him, based on his descriptions of a lot of these events, is he has sleep issues which are resulting in sleep paralysis for him at some points in his life, and sleep paralysis can be a horrifying thing if you've ever experienced it. So I think these experiences with sleep paralysis and sleep paralysis demons, as they tend to be called, genuinely have given him major anxiety issues, and I want to be clear that I feel for that. I'm not making fun of that specifically, because I get it. Even though the events he's misinterpreted, the feelings he feels are real, and I am acknowledging that, okay? I'm not laughing at that. I am, however, probably going to laugh at some of the stranger claims he makes. But I'm not making fun of his real anxieties about this stuff.
To think about aliens, but it's...
Oh, and
what I've
Gothgeek Gaming,
experienced,
thank you for hosting
please be
too.
polite in the comment section, because no jokes like, oh, you got raped by aliens, or he's crazy because he believes in aliens. You said that's not a fair statement. I have evidence of the aliens, and interacting with my family, and now these 7 stories, some of these things could be demons, some of them could be spirits, some of these experiences could be dreams. I'm open to that possibility. And if you think any of these stories is something other than aliens, let me know in the comment section, okay? Let me know, because I want to hear what you guys think. If none of these stories have to do with aliens, in your opinion, let me know in the comment section. I would prefer not to believe that I'm being abducted by aliens and my family is. But let me start off with the first story. I'll keep it short. When I was 4 or 5 years old, I lived in Bronxville, New York, and I was going to bed. I was in a room with my 2 other sisters. We're falling asleep, and the closet door opens, and a man walks out. He looked kind of like Zorro for some reason, and then he walked. I was in the top bunk bed. He stopped in front of the bunk bed. He turned to me like this and said, "Beware." And then he straight up walked out and flew out the window.
Okay, let's analyze this real quick. So according to him, a being that looked like Zorro, which, by the way, Zorro probably would have been coming out right around the time Peter was a kid. The Antonio Banderas Zorro, which is a good enough movie. Hydrate, thank you. Oh, I spilled water on me. Great. So, this sounds to me like a child who is having a sleep paralysis nightmare, and it happens to involve Zorro, or a Zorro-like being that then leaps out the window. Now, he's going to go on to say that his sisters corroborate this story. I kind of doubt it. I'd have to talk to the sisters. Sky Comet Fallen says, I only had 1 instance of sleep paralysis. I didn't have any hallucinations, but I couldn't move. The only reason I didn't freak out is because I have a degree in psychology and I knew what was happening. Andrew Batella says, I'm not saying it's sleep paralysis, but... Yeah, I had 1 instance of sleep paralysis that I can remember. It was not fun. It's not a good thing.
Now, initially I thought this was a spirit or a demon, but now I'm starting to think it's aliens. And by the way, 4 of the stories that...
Peter, why was the alien dressed like Zorro And why was he in your closet?
I'm telling you, have eyewitnesses, including this one. My two sisters saw this being, and they can vouch that this really did happen.
Okay, bring him on then. Let's hear it. I want to hear the sisters say the exact same thing, and I want them to describe it individually without talking to you first.
My sisters. So the next story happened many years later, and basically what happened was I was invited, long story short, I was invited by this creepy guy who looked like a half alien, half human hybrid. That I was in college in Iowa, and he invited me and a bunch of other people to go to his abandoned schoolhouse, which he said he bought for like $60,000 or $70,000 or whatever. And he had meat, and our university wasn't serving meat, and his girlfriend was very attractive, so we're like, and there was not many girls in the university. So we're like, oh, eat a bunch of meat and a barbecue and hang out with his beautiful girlfriend? Yeah, let's do it, even though he was very creepy and weird. So,
okay, there's a lot to unload here. So, first of all, Peter went to college. That's a surprise. Wonder how he did. Wonder if he finished. What was his major? Secondly, he had a friend who was a creepy, and Peter is saying he looked like a half alien, which is not the nicest thing to say about someone. This weirdo apparently had a attractive girlfriend, and Peter and his friends decided to go to this barbecue at an abandoned schoolhouse because this guy had a hot girlfriend, which makes Peter the creep, by the way, in case Peter doesn't understand that. You don't go hang out with someone because their girlfriend is hot, you weirdo. Like, you're not gonna fuck that guy's girlfriend. What are you doing? But yeah, he went to a guy who bought an abandoned schoolhouse, which is a very reasonable thing to do. Morok Ben Eoth says, I have the opposite of sleep paralysis. I will sometimes just get up while sleeping and wander around before I wake up with a start. So, sleepwalking.
he invited me and all my friends to go, and we went, and then one of my friends did some type of shamanic ceremony with sage to like clear us of spirits, because he had like apparently been learning that. And then we ate our food, and then he said, hey, do you want to go to the top of this abandoned schoolhouse? Isn't that cool? And we're like, yeah, of course, we want to go to the top of the abandoned schoolhouse. This sounds exciting. So we all went to the top of the abandoned schoolhouse, and literally as the last person reached the roof, I don't remember exactly how many people. I think it was like between 8 and 12 people. But the last person got to the top of the roof, it was like 3 or 4 p.m., blue sky, lots of light, no clouds, and someone points up in the sky and says, look at that. And it was an orb of light.
Okay. So Peter was drugged. Peter and his friends were clearly drugged, either by the creepy guy that bought the schoolhouse. And honestly, if you said, describe to me a person who would drug your meat before they feed it to you, honestly, guy who buys abandoned schoolhouse and holds parties there, pretty high up on the list. So either that guy drugged Peter and his friends without their knowledge, which is not cool, by the way. Never drug anyone, ever, under any circumstances, without their consent. And 2, the other thing he said, that one of his other friends was a, quote, shaman, or was into shamanic stuff and did some sort of cleansing ritual. He also could have drugged them with something, because that seems like a very shaman thing to do. Anyway, so someone goes up to the roof, they all go up to the roof and goes, look, what's up in the sky? Thus basically programming into them, there is something in the sky, look at this, triggering a sort of collective hallucination. And they all probably saw something similar, because as Peter's going to go on to say, there was already stories going around campus at the time of other people seeing orbs. So, you're drugged up, you've heard of other people seeing orbs, someone says, look, what's up in the sky? You're high as shit. They saw an orb. This is just Schadenfreude at this point. I don't feel that. It's just sad.
Just floating there, and at that point we're like, what? Is it aliens? Is it aliens? And actually, like a week before that, my friend had said that people were spotting these orbs of light at nighttime flying through the sky, and I was like, oh my gosh.
So what you're saying, Peter, is you were predisposed to assume that that would happen, and then you were drugged, and then saw that. That's pretty standard. Hey, Lou.
And we were walking through the forest, and it's like, hey, look, there's one now. And we saw the orb in the night sky, and then I was like, oh man, I wonder if that's aliens, but we didn't know because it's nighttime. But this time, which was a week later,
if it was daytime, he could have accurately assessed whether or not it was aliens. Tyron, thank you for 20 bits, says, announcer, it was in fact not aliens.
We saw this orb in broad daylight, so we were like, oh my gosh, it's got to be real. And then out of the blue, another one appears next to it, like the invisibility cloak of the alien spaceship was taken off. Boom! And another one. Boom, 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 boom. And they started flying around in a weird way. And then me and my friends were super excited because we're like, oh my gosh, aliens are revealing themselves to us. So we're like hugging and dancing and jumping. And
again, sounds like the behavior of a group of people who have been drugged.
Just high vibrations, super happy. I remember hugging my friend, and then boom. After that, I don't remember what happened.
Like a person on drugs.
One of my friends told me later on that he saw one of the alien spaceships come down and shine a light on us. So I assume we're abducted. But next thing I
you were all on drugs.
We're down from the schoolhouse. I don't ever remember walking down from the schoolhouse. I mean, this is one of those memorable, exciting moments of my life, and there is a deletion in my memory where we're at the bottom of the schoolhouse. We're just sitting in front of a campfire. No one's talking about being abducted by aliens or seeing the spaceships, which is extremely weird.
Probably because your other friends understood that they had taken drugs at that point.
And then we go home as if nothing ever happened. And then a week later, I was like, whoa, was that a dream? I wake up one morning, I was like, hey, I have this memory of us. And then I talked to my friends. They're like, yeah, that did happen. Now you think about it, I'm not sure why we weren't even talking about it, you know.
I'd like to think Peter's the weirdo in the friend group. And he's like, guys, did we get abducted by aliens? And they look at each other and they're like, yeah, we remember getting abducted by aliens. That's a real thing that happened, Peter. Bitter Grin, thanks for subscribing for 6 months. 2 trimesters down.
We interact with aliens for the first time in our life, and we didn't even talk about it. So that was also weird, that our memory was like, the whole event, parts of it was deleted, and parts of it we didn't even remember for about a week. And then that's when we were like, oh yes, we all saw this. You know, there was a lot of people that saw this between 8 and 12. And so this was a real event. No, we weren't on any drugs.
You were on drugs.
I do believe we were abducted.
You were given drugs against your will, which is fucked up, and fuck that guy. But you were on drugs.
So the next experience, which experience number 3, was I was in Panama, and then I have this dream that I'm brought out to the balcony in the house, and there's someone who I can't see. It looks like an adult alien, but I can't remember what they look like. And next to them is standing is a little girl. This happened about 2.5 years after. There's a little girl, and the being that I don't remember seeing, but I knew I felt their presence, said, look at her, she is your daughter. And this happened.
Again, felt their presence is like perfect dream logic. That doesn't mean anything in real life. You don't feel the presence of beings. You were having a dream, Peter.
While I was sleeping, and for a while I was wondering if it's a dream or not. But basically, he said, this is your daughter, I'm taking care of her, don't worry about it. It looked like a half alien blonde hybrid. As you can see, people have had similar experiences, and they've drawn pictures.
So this is what Peter's half alien daughter looks like, because Peter now thinks he has a half alien daughter somewhere out in space. Now, look, I'm no alien, so I can't exactly tell you what they're looking for in a mate. But if I'm an alien and I'm looking for a human man to give me genetic material to make a child, I think I can do better than Peter. Your options are endless. Nobel laureates, you know, the greatest athletes on Earth. Geniuses! Gods among men! Peter, who lives at home at 32. He's who I want to father my alien babies. Sky Comet Fallen says, signs. Daddy, there's a monster outside my room. Can I have a glass of water?
This is what I saw. Something that looks like this. It was like a...
I'm laughing to death. Says, Hannah says she's no alien, yet also admitted to being a reptilian. Please explain. Who said reptilians weren't from Earth? We live at the center of the Earth. Get it right, okay?
half alien, half human hybrid little girl. And he was basically saying, this is your daughter, and, we're taking care of her. And then I thought it was a dream,
Shit.
But I've always remembered it. And then
Sorry, kitty.
really researching the abductions and all that, I realized this is very common.
It is a common delusion for people to have during their weird sleep paralysis hallucinations. That doesn't mean it's real. FH Natchtmar, thanks for subscribing with Prime.
And they abduct you and take your semen and make hybrids. It's a courtesy to actually introduce you to your hybrid children.
So they'll assault you and steal your genetic material without your consent, but they feel the need to show you the genetic offspring as a courtesy? That doesn't make sense. Profane Priestess says, fun fact, we know hallucinations are primed by cultural myths. When Close Encounters came out, abduction stories changed to match the movie's depictions. Yeah. Definitely a thing. And especially for Peter, someone who spends time researching this stuff, I'm sure he knows all the tropes about alien abductions. So his sleep paralysis delusions, not even delusions, what's the word? His sleep paralysis hallucinations are going to be very in line with those stories because he's inundated himself with those for years. It's almost like a weird feedback loop. Him getting, air quote, abducted makes him investigate more alien stuff, which when he has sleep paralysis again causes him to have hallucinations that are even more in line with those stories. It's not good. He's priming himself for his own nightmares. Bellum Guardian says he got squeezed by the alien J-O machine. Morak Ben Eoth says, as someone who follows the alien conspiracy rabbit hole very closely, this sounds very tropey, which means it's either real or more likely a ripoff of someone else's story.
So for a while, I wasn't sure if this was a dream or not, because it definitely happened in a dream state while I was sleeping. It was just, in my head, it was just a weird dream, but it felt very real. And then after hearing all these stories of aliens introducing the hybrids, that
Peter, you can have very, very vivid, real-feeling dreams. One of the coolest dreams I've ever had, and this was in the last year or so, I had a dream where I was my D&D character, the Professor. It was awesome. It felt vivid and real, and I can remember, details about the location specifically. I can remember specific actions I took. It's really, really cool. And you can have this in either good dreams or bad dreams. So I'm sorry that you had these bad experiences, Peter, but they're still dreams. Dreams can feel very real, but they're not. They're dreams.
they made with your DNA. I do believe that this was, in fact, my daughter, and that the reason it came to me in a dream state was so that I could handle it, because if it didn't happen in a dream state, like if he actually took me on the balcony and I saw the crazy alien and I saw the hybrid and it was not a dream, I'm not sure I could have psychologically recovered from that. So sometimes things are presented in...
But what's the difference? You just said it was vivid and almost real, so what's the difference if it's a dream or not?
a dream state, so that people who were psychologically fragile like me at the time can handle it, and now when I'm stronger, I can finally digest that that was a real experience, in my opinion. Could be a dream, I don't know. Anyway, story number 4. Story number 4 happens while we're taking a vacation with my family and an island in Panama, and my mom slipped on these stairs and actually hurt her hip. She broke her hip. It snapped in half because she slipped down these slippery stairs. And so she was taken to a hospital like on the island, but they had apparently, I think she got taken off the island. Yeah, she got taken off the island in a boat to a area in Panama, that hospital that had like no medicine, because apparently this hospital, whenever they had medicine, it would get stolen by thugs. So they had no painkillers, and my mom was in the most pain she'd ever experienced in her entire life. And so my dad told me, I didn't know this, he told me about like a month or two ago, that he was sitting at the hospital. He was telling all of his church members, because they're missionaries.
Where's
have
Freddy
a lot
Krueger
of friends.
when you need
Please
him?
pray for my
Yikes.
wife. She's in a lot of pain. There's no painkillers, and it's going to be like a long time until we can get her back to, Panama City, where they have good hospitals and painkillers. And everyone was praying and praying, praying for my mom. And then he said he saw in his mind's eye. He wasn't sure if he saw in real life or in his mind's eye.
Mind's eye, aka your imagination. You know, the thing that isn't real. You know, the thing that isn't real?
He doesn't remember, but he remembers seeing 4 gray aliens walk into the room with, I think there was 1 or 2 wands. I think maybe one of them had a wand. I don't remember. But there was a wand, and they waved the wand over my mom. She's like, oh, I'm in pain. And they waved the wand over my mom, and her pain went away.
Beep, boop, bop, boop. I don't know why I'm doing beeps. They're not robots, they're aliens. We must go to Earth and, save, humans with our technology. Oh, are we gonna go... Also, why are you talking like that? We talk normal. Are we gonna go cure cancer? Are we gonna go save children dying of AIDS? No, I thought we would go to, an island off of Panama and help Peter's mother because her hip hurts. Boo! What the fuck?
So the most painful experience she's ever had in her life. She's in so much pain. And then she looks at my dad and says, the pain is gone. What? But all of a sudden, the pain is gone. What's going on? My dad never told anyone until recently.
Morok says, exterminate, exterminate.
My dad believes that these were spirits that came and healed. But I'm like, yeah, gray aliens with a technological wand that takes pain away sure sounds like spirits to me. Yeah, right. Could have been spirits? I don't know. Maybe. But
I like the idea that Peter and his dad are arguing about, are they aliens or are they angels or spirits? It's just like, it's like arguing the color of a unicorn's fur. Like, what are you talking about? Mike Mack says, Peter will soon say that his so-called medicine or weed will until your third eye or mind eyes, and I meet people who believe this. Well, hold on, I gotta take that from the top. Peter will soon say his so-called medicine or weed will until your third eye or mind eyes, and I meet people who believe this. Open. Okay. Again, proofread. Proofread so you don't have to correct yourself afterward. Open your third eye. Thank you.
But the fact is, my mom went from the most pain she's ever experienced her entire life to no pain, and 4 gray aliens walked into the room and waved a wand over her. So, it is what it is.
Everyone knows aliens are just fairies in disguise.
When
Good disguise.
I was
the unicorn's fur is purple.
Autism therapy.
What is this
I got
lilac
sent to
bullshit?
Dubai to learn autism.
Oh god. The next is the next one the one that's hilarious? Logarth says, I thought that they were I thought that they were angels, but to wait, what's the oh god. I thought that they were angels, but to my surprise, they got aboard their starship. We headed toward the skies. Come sail away. Yeah, I like that song.
Therapy, and I was staying.
Is that ABBA? That's Styx.
In a apartment that they had set up for me. I was doing training, and I would take a taxi to go to the location where I was being trained on autism therapy. And that night, I had so much pain in my anus, to be honest. And
this is the story, and I'm not kidding, in which Peter's anus hurts, and then he hears a noise, therefore he assumes it was an alien abduction. Baja, apparently I get abducted by aliens every time we have a relatively rough, You know what, never mind. I'm exiting out of that joke.
I kept on thinking, like, was I abducted again? Did they put something in my butt? Like, what? Like, I kept thinking that weird thought, like, the only thing that can explain why my anus hates my, I don't know what you call it. My poop comes out of my butthole or in there.
Let's roll that back.
Again, did they put something in my butt? Like, what? Like, I kept thinking that weird thought, like, the only thing that can explain why my anus hates my, I don't know what you call it. My poop comes out of my butthole or in there.
Mike Mack says, I'm surprised he doesn't believe aliens are demons or angels because they're Christian and they believe they're either. Yeah, some Christians think that, so. And Lynn says, yeah, I have the Paranormal Radio app and listen to it nightly for entertainment. This is a common claim for those who think they were abducted, talking about rectal pain and a metallic taste after being taken by UFOs. Profane Priestess says, your sphincter, Peter. It's called a sphincter. Towing24 says, let's be real, Peter got really high and decided to experiment, and this is the lie he's going to use. Logarth says, aliens during abduction. Not right. Not it doesn't? What?
I don't know what you call it. My poop comes out of my butthole or in there.
I don't know why, just that, I'm sorry, I'm a child, but for some reason that wording is just so funny to me. My poop comes out of my butthole. Like, yeah, good job, Peter. He must have eaten Taco Bell. How dare you besmirch Taco Bell like this?
So my, I don't know what you call it. My poop comes out of my butthole or in there.
I want that to be my new text notification. So I'm just in public, and it's gonna ding, and it's gonna go, my poop comes out of my butthole.
The only way I can explain why.
Mike Mack says, as a Mexican, I can. Taco Bell sucks. Yeah, of course it sucks. It's not like authentic Mexican food. It's trash, but it's delicious trash. Logarth says, not right now it doesn't. It's an old meme from a porno involving anal. The actress is like, but poop come out from there. Oh. Don't worry, he's only smells. Alexa, play Smash Mouth, says, I laughed so hard when I first heard that. If only Peter could make comedy gold like that voluntarily.
It hurts so much is someone must have put something in there. Because it was just so much pain, like someone shoved something in there. And so, anyway, I was like, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I just
Peter, sometimes I
have abduction paranoia. But then I'm walking to get a taxi with my coworker, and we're just walking, and then we hear over our head, and something flew away. And then we're like, what? It sounded like a spaceship. I lived next to airports most of my life, and I've heard a lot of flying things. I never heard anything that sounded like. And I was like, did you hear that, airplane or spaceship or something like that? She's like, yeah, we looked up, there was nothing.
Peter knows exactly what an alien spaceship sounds like. How does he know this? Because he heard it that one time and decided that that's what an alien spaceship sounds like. He didn't see it, but he heard it. And that means that he knows what alien spaceship sounds like. Mike Mack says, Peter, poop comes out of my butthole. In breaking news, the sky is blue.
Nothing. And I was like, what did it sound like to you? She's like, sounded like some type of alien spaceship flying away. And I was like, yeah, it did.
How would you, Peter, how would you know we don't even know if aliens exist, much less if they have spaceships, or what those spaceships would sound like if they existed. That doesn't mean anything. I could make You know those little horns that go ahooga, like the old-timey car horns? Ahooga. I could literally do that and go, I think this is what an alien spaceship sounds like. And it has the same level of evidence and validity as your claim that they sound like voo-voo-voo-voom. Like, it doesn't... We could go down a list of cartoon sound effects, Peter. I have all day, and none of them are evidence to sound like an alien spaceship.
Again, it could have been anything. Could have been all my imagination. I don't know for sure, but because of the abduction experience I had, I do believe that the aliens anally probed me. It's likely, and that they deliberately were loud and flying away to tell me know that I'm not crazy and that something did happen to me that night.
So they don't inform you directly of the anal probe, but they have a little button on their console that's it's not actually, the spaceship is silent, that's just their horn. It's the horn that says, we probed your ass, sorry. Hits the button, voom. That's just alien language for sorry we got in your butthole. Alexa Play Smash Mouth says, I heard that Ron Watkins has shifted from Q to aliens. Is this why Peter is focusing on this now? There's been more discussion about aliens in the Q circles, which is probably why he's talking about it, though he's always had a fascination with aliens. So, Profane Priestess says, so this sounds like Peter had a hemorrhoid or the creepy guy assaulted him while drugged, but no, it must be aliens. The creepy guy was a different situation. So, probably hemorrhoids or some other issue, who knows. Logarth says, so I made a South Park adjacent joke too soon. And Marcus Drake says, so here's the thing I don't get. Even if aliens came to Earth, what would they learn by probing our asses for 70 years? Maybe they think that's where our brains are and they just can't find it and they're very confused because maybe their brains are in their asses. They're like, how are they functioning? They have no brain. It's just full of all this brown stuff.
The next experience, I believe, when I was abducted in college, because it was high vibrations, very happy, I do believe those benevolent beings, good people, good aliens that were doing something good. I like to believe that is the case. But this next experience was very, 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 very scary. Maybe the scariest I've ever been in my entire life. I was in Maryland, Ellicott City. I was trying to fall asleep. I was with my 1.5-year-old daughter, Keika, and my wife, Nari, and everything in the apartment had been locked. And all of a sudden, I'm trying to fall asleep, and the apartment was extremely creaky. Like, it was one of those apartments where you walk, and every step is like, and you
That's what I think an alien spaceship sounds like.
walk, and every step is like,
Logard says, aliens are checking to see if the vaccinations are giving us autism. And Sky Comet Fallen says they're just trying to help us prevent colon cancer.
and even the doorknob was squeaky. So all of a sudden I hear, boom, boom, footsteps in the house, and I'm like, what in the world?
I like that he already says that the house was old and creaky, which could easily explain this. Because I have an old house. My house was built in 1933, so it's almost 100 years old. Parts of it. I have an add-on that was added, I think, in the 70s or something like that. But most of my house was built in the 1930s. It makes noises. It makes noises sometimes. Old houses settle, especially as the temperatures change. Like, that happens. Hydrate? Okay. Mike Mack says, I bet he hates theories that claim aliens created us because he's a man of faith. Probably.
That must be the neighbors, right? It must be the neighbors, because I locked the balcony, I locked the door, it's my job to be a protector, I locked the apartment well before I went to sleep. Then I hear the creakiness. This entity, or entities, was walking towards my bedroom door. Now I'm really freaking out. I'm like, tell me this is the neighbors. This can't be real. And then I hear a pause right when the entities get to my door. I think it was one. It sounded like one. Didn't sound like footsteps. Sounded like one entity. I hear my door knob to my bedroom opening. Or maybe it doesn't sound like that. Like, I don't know how a doorknob sounds, but I heard it open.
Peter knows how an alien spaceship sounds, but he doesn't know how doorknobs sound. Maybe Peter's the alien. Enlid says the anal probes are just one of the experiments that were approved on humans and other Earth beings by a treaty between aliens and President Eisenhower. In exchange, the Earth would get technology. The treaty came after forming the Majestic 12. Yes, ufologists actually believe this. Wow. Profane Priestess says, I'm not trying to be ableist, but are we sure Peter doesn't have schizophrenia or some other severe delusional issue? I don't know. I'm not qualified to make any sort of assessment like that, and even if I was, YouTube videos wouldn't be enough to make that call. So. Mike Mack says, Peter probably watches Ancient Aliens and thinks it's real. Yeah, he's kind of the perfect audience.
Opening. And people make fun of me at this point in the story, but I put my covers over my head and was like panicked.
I've said many times, and the more Peter talks, the more I feel validated in this claim, that Peter is an interesting case of arrested development in that the way he thinks about things is very black and white, good and evil, simplistic, are very childlike, and a lot of his rationale tends to be on the level of a young child or pre-adolescent, because I don't think he developed properly because of his living environment in the cult. This is a perfect example. An adult who's, and by the way, his family's there, I think he said in this story. Like, his children are there, and he hears an intruder in the house, and his instinct is to throw covers over his head like he's 6 years old and he's afraid of the boogeyman coming out of his closet. Like, this is not the rationale of a normal, well-adjusted adult.
And people are like, "Whoa, you're supposed to defend your family, and you're acting like a scaredy cat, and you're not trying to fight." I was like, in my head, I knew these were aliens, and I felt they were evil. You're gonna fight evil aliens, dude? They just got into your house.
Well, they're your family. So, and again, I'm not gonna have kids, but like Baja, for instance, her and I are gonna be moving in together soon. If there was ever an intruder in the house, or I suspected there to be an intruder in the house, first of all, I think both of us would want to protect each other, which would be an interesting scenario. But I'm not hiding under the covers. I'd be terrified, and I probably wouldn't think I'd win the fight because I'm a bitch. But at the end of the day, I'm not gonna just sit by, put my head under the covers, and hide like that's gonna do anything. Like, what? Peter, no. This does not make you look particularly good. Logarth says, let's be honest, I'd rather have him hiding under the covers than getting his gun and shooting someone. I would agree with that.
That was locked. Your apartment that was locked.
But what if it was an evil alien? Why would an evil alien come to visit me?
Locked. Yeah, right, I'm going to just fit. And also,
Also, Peter, go watch the movie Signs, okay? Get a glass of water and swing away. You'll be fine.
I didn't want to see the aliens because it's very... I have alien phobia, even though I love aliens. Like, if I had seen the aliens, that image in my head would have really scared me for life. So I deliberately did not want to see who was coming in, the aliens. So I covered my head, and then, boom, my memory goes blank, deleted. And for the first time in, like, I think 8 or 9 years, I slept through the whole night. I'm a very light sleeper. I've never slept through the whole night since I was, like, maybe, like, 16.
See, this lends credence, I think, again, too, and we're basically detectiving this. We're trying to Sherlock Holmes. Is there a version of Sherlock Holmes that's, like, Gregory House is just Sherlock Holmes, but he's a doctor? Is there a version of Sherlock Holmes that's, like, someone who's a psychologist or something? Anyway, the breadcrumbs we're picking up here. The fact that he has trouble sleeping indicates higher likelihood of sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis is more likely in people with insomnia. So Peter having multiple instances of sleep paralysis because he hasn't slept properly since he was 16, that tracks. He probably just has sleep paralysis and insomnia. Sky Comet Fallen says, maybe he'd visit you to raid your booze. I don't have any. I've quit drinking, but, you know. Chaotic Kitten with bits, thank you. Marcus Drake says Hannibal Lecter. I suppose, yeah. Minus the eating people, sure.
Even then, I don't think... It was probably, like, so long.
Hello,
I don't
Chaotic
ever
Kitten.
remember
Good to
sleeping
see
through
you
the whole
too.
night. But that night, I slept through the whole night. And then my head was placed at the feet of the bed. I was on top of the comforter, and I was lying on my stomach. First of all, I never sleep with my head at the feet of the bed next to my wife's stinky feet. I never sleep on top of the comforters. I never sleep on my belly. So I was placed deliberately in a way for me to be like, what the heck? I was abducted. That wasn't a dream.
They didn't want to use the v-v-v-voom horn this time because they didn't anally probe him. So they did the other thing they do to tell people they've been abducted, which is to place them back in the bed backwards.
And then, but I was still wondering, like, I was hoping it was not an evil alien that abducted me, but as I've learned from Majestic 12, you can feel the energy of aliens. High vibration aliens feel happy, like the experience I had in college. Negative aliens, evil aliens do have a low vibration. You can feel fear and negative emotions. So this was, unfortunately, an evil entity, alien. And so I was still trying to hope, like, oh, maybe this is fake. Maybe this didn't happen. Maybe it was just a dream. But I was like, I was placed in a way in my bed that's impossible. Like, I've never slept like that. And anyway, so that day I have a play date with the neighbor downstairs. And I bring my daughter down. He's got a daughter. He's also a stay-at-home parent like me. And I tell him the story, and he says, oh, I saw the alien. I said, what? He's like, I saw the alien spaceship. I was like, dude, don't joke around like that. He's like, no, I did. I recorded it. I was like, what? Show me. And lo and behold, a video recorded around 10:30 last night over our apartment, a orb of light that is not a plane, a helicopter, making no noise, orb of light just sitting there.
Okay, so the orb in that instance doesn't make a noise, but you know the noise other spaceships make. So some spaceships are silent, but other spaceships make noise. Okay. Towing24 says, did his sleep paralysis start after the creepy guy? Sleep paralysis and insomnia could be symptoms of him not processing his assault. Possibly. Could also be a PTSD thing. I don't know. No, he said 16. He said the instance with the person who drugged him was in college. So that would have been a couple years later at least. But he could have PTSD or something else. He did grow up in a very strange situation in that gun cult. So, who knows? But again, I'm not trying to, I don't know that for any sort of fact. I have no indication that that's the case. It's just complete speculation on my part. Strumboli for Wi-Fi says, I've never felt a high vibration alien, but my wife has a high vibration rabbit. But, zing. What the fuck? Gay Rude NB Union says, why do people get mad when people have kinks? Just let people pee on their cousin's feet. Does it have to be your cousin's feet? I don't care what people do, but the familial relation thing is a little icky. One Speedy Yoshi, thank you for subscribing with Prime. 4 months, thank you.
There, over our apartment. It wasn't like right over, it was like a little further away, but it was clearly the same orb that I had seen previously in my previous abduction experience. So that was startling, and what's kind of weird too is that I didn't ask for that video, which, when you think about it, if he has proof that aliens abducted me and they recorded a spaceship, wouldn't you want that video? I didn't think of asking for that video except for like months later.
That makes no sense to me. If someone said to me, I have footage of an alien spaceship, I'd say, show me it, probably because I want to debunk it, and then I would ask for a copy immediately. And also the guy deleted the video. Yeah, when I have proof of aliens, I definitely delete it to save space. Let's see. I have almost no space left on my phone. What am I gonna delete? I could delete Astro Lounge, my favorite Smash Mouth album, or I could delete proof that alien beings exist. I don't need the alien proof, okay, yeah. Delete, and we are good. Time to download the new... Whatever. You get the bit. Who the fuck deletes alien proof? Maybe flipping Peter is the alien's turn down service. Chaotic Kitten says, did the Power Hour challenge with Jeff and Ian while watching Passions last Saturday and you were drunk? I'm sorry. Chrysia says, wait, if it's the same orb, how are they different aliens? Also, he definitely just rolled in his sleep. Yeah.
I think sometimes aliens are influencing our thoughts, and they didn't want me to have that video. Later, when I asked him months later, hey, do you have the video? He said, I deleted it. I'm like, dude, you recorded an alien, you deleted it, and me, I'm dumb enough to not get a copy of that before he deletes it. But anyway, I feel like that was some type of influencing our thoughts or something to make sure that we didn't have that video. But at least I saw that video. I knew it was real. I saw it when he recorded it. He just happened to see a UFO the night and time and place where I was abducted. These are the type of things that make me think that it's not spirit, it's not a demon, it's not a dream. And there's evidence, physical evidence. And then the final story has the most physical evidence. As you can see,
I believe, again, this is the story about his daughter, so just in case, I'm pretty sure he doesn't actually show the picture again, but give me a sec to make sure.
Here, my daughter was born with 2 holes in her back. Sorry, 1 hole in her back and 1 kind of near her groin area on her leg.
Again, this is a medical issue. He forgot to put in the photos here, which I actually appreciate. I don't want to see those photos of his sick kid. And let me be clear, I feel so much sympathy for this child. That's terrible. Unfortunately, it appears, based on what he says throughout the rest of this, he probably didn't get her the medical care that she needed. Sounds like his friends just fuck with him about the alien stuff. Oh, I would imagine they do. I would.
As the picture you can see here is one of the holes. I know a lot about health.
By he knows a lot about health, he means he thinks weed is... And I'm not kidding. He's self-published, I think, 2 books on how he thinks marijuana is a panacea that can cure literally any disease. Diabetes, cancer, stuff like that. So he does not know anything about medicine. He doesn't know anything about anything like this. He just thinks he does because he smokes a lot of weed.
This was not like a disease. What was very weird about this hole is that
it was some sort of birth defect, Peter. Again, specifically because it was on her back. Potentially some sort of spina bifida or some other issue like that. Fucked up. You think he's giving the kids weed? Probably not THC, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's given them CBD, which I don't think you should probably do to kids, especially considering he makes his own CBD that has dirt and isopropyl alcohol in it. Mike Mack says a chiropractor knows more about health than Peter.
When my daughter was born, you had this hole in her back. It's a perfectly cut circle. You can't really see how perfectly cut it is because it's stretched out in the photo, but it's a perfectly cut circle on her back and a perfectly cut circle. It's like someone had cut out a circle of skin, taken a skin sample, and taken it out perfectly, like a perfect circle on her spine and then near her groin area on her leg, upper leg. And what's weirder about
Logarth says that's called sacral dimple. Let me take a look. I'm not going to show on screen, obviously, but I'll take a look and see how it compares to the photo he showed earlier. Chaotic Kitten says, I was jeering bits that were taking hit points off me. Derp. Sacral dimple. Okay, let me look this up. Oh yeah, that looks exactly like what Peter is describing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Oh yeah, that looks exactly like what he's describing, and it looks a lot like the picture he showed earlier too. So yeah, probably a sacral dimple. Thank you, everyone. It's almost like Peter doesn't know anything about anything, and he shouldn't be diagnosing his newborn child and instead should be taking her to a doctor.
it really made it didn't take like more than a minute for me to be like, oh, they took skin samples from my daughter. Don't know how. Probably, I'm guessing, went through my wife's belly and did some operation, and I don't know.
An adult who talks about pregnancy in terms of my wife's belly. Logarth says, luckily they are mostly safe, but can be an indication of improper spinal development, so similar to spina bifida. Okay.
She's probably not going to want to hear this. My friends and family, they watch my videos, and they're probably going to think I'm crazy, but
Peter's friends and family, get him help. He's not getting any saner, okay? I'm just telling you, here's my fear about Peter, and I'm not making any accusations. I don't think Peter is an inherently violent person, believe it or not. I just think he's a person dealing with a lot of false ideas about the world, and is easily led to delusion. So even though I don't think Peter is an inherently violent individual, I think his distorted beliefs about the world can lead him to violence in a way that makes sense to him. I'm afraid one day he's going to wake up and decide one of a few options. Either he's going to think, if we're talking about the QAnon stuff that he's into, he's going to think, well, Trump isn't coming back. We're all doomed. The deep state's going to kill us all. I might as well do my family, a favor and put them out of their misery quickly instead of being put in, like, George Soros FEMA camps or whatever. And then he, kills his whole family in what he would deem, mercy killing. Or I'm afraid he's going to get into the alien stuff more, and he's going to someday decide, like, my family's been replaced by aliens or something delusional, and he's going to do something similar. I'm really worried about that. So Peter's friends and family, I would recommend you get him some help before this gets to an area where it's hurting other people. He already apparently didn't get his newborn daughter healthcare that she could have needed. Just saying, even though I don't think he has malintentions, I don't think he's doing this with malice. Ignorance and delusion can hurt people. Basically the Mist movie ending, yes, pretty much. But that's a real thing that happens in real life too. I was actually listening to a podcast that's very good, the Psychology in Seattle podcast, that held a whole video on types of, I think they're called family eliminators or something like that. It's something like that. It's a phenomenon that happens where a family member, a father or a mother, will wipe out the whole family for some reason, and one of the types of family eliminators are people who do so because they want to save their family from some other fate. Often it'll be like they're having money trouble and they're just hopeless about the future, so they think, well, I don't want my family to starve, so they take them out, and then they maybe take themselves out. Not always. I think the statistic is like 50% of family eliminators kill themselves after. But anyway, it's a real concern, at least from where I'm standing, but that's just my opinion, my unprofessional opinion, that's for sure.
I really don't care. I have thick skin at this point. But the point is,
Mike says, like, Itachi killing his whole clan? Is that an anime thing that I don't know about?
These holes had skin band-aids on them, which was very weird. And so I don't know how it happened, but these holes, imagine you have a hole in your skin, and then you 3D print skin, like a thin layer of skin, and you put that thin layer of skin on top of the hole. So these two holes on my daughter, they had what I call skin band-aids over. They had little layers of skin, a thin layer of skin right over the band-aid that fell off within the first 6 hours. Like, it just slid off, the skin band-aid. So it was so weird. There's a piece.
Again, that sounds exactly like the thing that, the other person had me look up. Which I'm already forgetting, which I need to bookmark. Hold on. Yeah, okay. Let me save this for my next Peter discussion. Because I made a whole folder for stuff to bring up during Peter's next...
new information that I think you're going to be...
Oopsie, wrong Peter video.
Piece of thin skin right over these areas, and then underneath there was a perfectly cut hole. There was no infection, there was no inflammation. This was shown to a skin expert. He said he'd never seen it ever before.
Notice he didn't say doctor, and I find that incredibly suspicious. He showed it to a skin expert, air quotes. He didn't say a dermatologist, he didn't even say a doctor. He said skin expert, which makes me think in his weird alt health community, where Peter again makes his own CBD out of isopropyl alcohol and thinks that weed can cure cancer and diabetes and stuff. I feel like he has some other friend in that community who's like, oh, I'm a skin expert. I'll tell you what kind of CBD or essential oils to rub on your skin. So he showed that guy a picture, or showed him the actual daughter, and the person had no idea what it was because they're not a doctor.
There's someone his whole thing is, skin problems, diseases, whatever.
Again, the way he's tap dancing around, saying doctor or dermatologist, and he's not saying that, very much makes me think this is not a doctor that he's talking to. Vast Lunacy says a skin expert sounds like some Silence the Lambs shit.
He couldn't identify what it was. He wanted me to go in and check it out and them to do all this tests. I was like, I already know what it is. If you can't identify it, it's got a skin band-aid over it. It's a perfect circle. And the holes appeared while my wife was, while my daughter was in my wife's womb. That was alien experiment. They took skin samples. So
he didn't actually go and get his daughter any form of medical care for this. Again, if it is the other thing that someone brought up, it's possible it would have been fine, but the daughter probably could have gotten an infection. And honestly, Peter didn't know what this was. So it could have been something worse that he should have taken his daughter to the hospital for, and he chose not to because he decided it was aliens. Think about how dangerous that is. Like, imagine what other potential health concerns his kids could have that Peter would refuse to get treated because he thinks it's aliens. Scary. R. Wester V, thank you for extending your tier 1 through September. Wow, thank you. Logarth says, the Band-Aids were probably actual Band-Aids. No, they were... The images showed that there were other instances like that where there was skin over it, but there was just, like, material, I don't know what you would call it, human meat missing underneath. Pixar, or Pinkerbell Pixie, thank you for subscribing for 3 months, says, wow, Peter looks like, poop, what happened? I don't know. I think he's been depressed recently or something. Morok says, I figured it out, Peter's hair reminds me of my brother's hair. Logarth says, RE can be open wounds or have skin tags or flaps. Marcus Drake says, people like Peter are why so many states have religious or cultural exemptions for child abuse claims. Yeah.
It's the first time I've ever said all this stuff. My mother-in-law watches this, my brother watches this, I know some of my friends watch these videos.
I hope to everything good in this universe that some of his family or friends see this, like he says they will. I have an intervention? I don't know at this point what would help, but this escalation, it's not good.
And it does take some courage to talk about this, but I'm confident in releasing all this information now, even if people think I'm crazy, because I think that it'll help people who've been abducted also have the bravery to speak up about it. And also, it's also healing for me. I don't think any of my friends or family believed me when I said these things, and it's difficult for you to be abducted. A lot of people, everyone I know who's been abducted, or I don't know anyone, but like people I've watched on videos and stuff, they always have anxiety, chronic anxiety. They're worried they're going to be abducted every night. They have PTSD. I have all these things as well from these abduction experiences, and no one really believes me, which is the toughest thing, because, I've told these to people, and they're just like, oh, okay. And my dad made a joke the other day, oh, did they sexually assault you, the aliens? And I'm just like, that's a bit insensitive, because...
It is. That's a messed up joke to make. to like anyone ever. Peter's dad sounds like a dick. I just got your message, Kat. I'm doing the gift sub that I owe you. There you go. Should have it now. Again, like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm not going to make fun of Peter's anxiety about this. Why would I? Even though I think he's wrong about his interpretation of these events. He doesn't. So his anxiety and PTSD, if that is in fact what's going on with him, are very real to him, even if they're based on misunderstandings of events. Dreams and nightmares and delusions can mess with you, can induce anxiety, can induce stuff like PTSD, or at the very least trigger it if it's something that's already underlying. So, yeah, I feel sorry for Peter on this count. I would never make fun of that, because it's serious, and that's a shame. I feel bad for him. And his dad sounds like a dick. Mike Mack says it's sad. Peter is just a father finding a cure and putting the blame on others. I don't know. Peter is a pretty tragic figure.
I have a lot of anxiety and fear over these experiences. Someone mentioned in the comments, like, have you considered doing, regression therapy? And I have strongly considered doing. I'd have to fly to California and go to this regression therapist.
Peter, I don't know if Peter watches these, but if Peter is actually watching this, don't do the regression therapy. It'll hurt you. It will. Because there's this, oh gosh, what's it called? There's a phenomena in these regression therapy circles where they'll, like, hypnotize you and put you under and try and lead you through these experiences. And what's happening is they're basically programming false memories in you. And it'll just make things worse, Peter. It's just going to make your delusions about this more vivid, more anxiety-inducing, more triggering to you. It's going to create a whole new list of experiences that didn't happen, but you will believe that they happened. It's going to be bad. This happened under satanic panic as well. There were therapists who would bring in children, and then through suggestion and sort of like egging them on, create false memories in them of all these like satanic rituals that never happened. It's really sad. This is a documented phenomena, which is why this sort of therapy is typically looked down on by the therapy community at this point, just because it's wrought with the peril of, again, programming false memories in someone or having them remember something incorrectly, inducing trauma accidentally by making people think certain things happened that didn't actually happen. It's terrible. So don't do it, Peter, please.
Who helps people who've been abducted, and they actually can recall a lot of what happened. Like, these memories are deleted in my head. If I went there and did this hypnosis, I would be able to, it's called regression therapy, I could recall a lot of the memories. But right now I'm leaning towards not doing it because
Good.
If I do regression therapy and I see these aliens, it's very uncomfortable for me, and I'm honestly scared to see their faces. If they're good aliens, like, handsome, attractive aliens, I might be comfortable with it. But like, what about the evil aliens? What happens if I see them and then I'm scared for life? That they're gonna abduct me again. Like, I'm already scared and anxious enough, and I will go to sleep like thinking every night, like, oh, like last night I slept like 6 hours straight without waking up. When stuff like that happens, I'm like, was I abducted again? Because I don't sleep through the night.
So this is heartbreaking listening to him talk about this. Mike Mack says, so a lying detector for therapy, and Color Miami says, wow, Peter, don't ugly shame the aliens.
Wake up like every 2-3 hours, so if I sleep for like long periods of time, like 6 hours, I'm like, which happens rarely. That's happened like, sleeping 6 hours straight's happened maybe like 5 times in the last 7 years or something.
Again, points to insomnia, which can exacerbate your chances of having sleep paralysis incidents, so.
Like that. But it's difficult to talk about these things. It's difficult when people don't believe you. It's difficult when people make fun of you. Um, I hope that you guys in the comment section can explain all these things to me in a way that makes sense, that they're not aliens. I would like these not to be alien experiences. I don't want to be abducted. I don't like it. I do not consent to these experiences. Sometimes I like to fantasize and think like, oh, I have superpowers and I'm a special person. That's why they're abducting me, and I'm very important and no harm could ever happen to me because I am an important experiment. I like to think these beliefs because what's the alternative for me to think? That I'm a useless lab rat that's being experimented on like a piece of cattle?
Again, this is really, really sad. So, Peter, you say that you want to not believe that they're aliens. Excellent news, Peter. These are not alien experiences. I know to you they feel like they are, and I'm not trying to take that away from you. Because I understand to you they feel 100% real. I acknowledge that. But the reality is, these experiences, more likely than not, are the result of a variety of issues from, again, sleep paralysis to, in the case of the guy who took you up on the roof, potentially being drugged, which is not okay of him to do. I would highly recommend you seek out professional help from this from a real licensed counselor, therapist, or psychologist. They can help you with this. They could probably give you tips on mitigating the chances of sleep paralysis events, perhaps even getting you on some sort of medication. And Peter, I know you think marijuana is the cure for everything, but please, in this case, just listen and hear me out. I hear you out, and I know I laugh at some of the things you say, but I'm trying to be genuine here and help you. Talk to a therapist, talk to a counselor, figure out if there's something they can do to help you with these potential sleep paralysis events, which you can talk to them about. You can talk to them about your experiences. They will listen to you. They're not going to mock you. That's their entire job, is to listen and be understanding. And then maybe they can help deal with some of the issues going into these events. And maybe even, again, get you some medication that could help you sleep through the night. If you help your insomnia, you might be able to help, again, mitigate or even stop the sleep paralysis events from happening to you. Even if you don't believe me, Peter, even if you're still adamant that these are alien abduction experiences, what do you have to lose by trying to do something to help this? Because if you're as anxious and scared as you say you are, and I believe you are, you sound genuine when you're talking about this, and I'm sorry, I really am, that you feel this way, then I'd think you'd want to try anything within your power to stop these things from happening to you. So, please, I would just highly recommend seeking out a licensed professional therapist out there who can help you with this. Give it a shot. 6 months, a year, something like that. See if there's any improvement. See if you can talk through some stuff with them. And I think you'll be a lot better off. But again, it's unsolicited advice. I understand that. If you did watch this, I at least appreciate you hearing me out. Thank you.
I don't want to think that I'm a lab rat that's being experimented on aliens without my consent, like I'm a little piece of meat. I don't want to think that. It could be true. So I make up these beliefs in my head that somehow I'm special because of these abductions. But who knows? But it's very difficult to talk about these things. It's very difficult when people don't believe you. You know, like, people who are abducted, they want to talk about these things. You can't just bottle all this stuff in. They want to release it. If you bottle it in, it's so much stress and anxiety. You need to tell people. But then when you tell people, everyone thinks you're crazy. Like, maybe one or two of my friends that I told this to actually believed me. But they never said, like, oh man, that must be tough for you. Or, Are you okay? Are you dealing with PTSD? Like, I think a lot of people don't realize these experiences have a negative effect on your life. I'm trying to.
I would agree with that. Some empathy can go a long way, even if you don't necessarily believe that the reason they're experiencing these feelings is the reason that they think, right? Again, I don't think Peter was abducted by aliens, but I can recognize that his psychological first-hand experience feels like that, and probably has induced trauma within him. And that's really sad, which is why I think he should seek out help to help him feel better, because I imagine it's incredibly difficult, especially in a case like this, where for him, he feels like he was abducted by aliens and all these things were done to him. He feels his agency has been stripped away from him. And on top of that, it's this thing that no one's going to believe, right? For good reason in many, because there's just not evidence that it is what he says it is. It's probably a sleep paralysis issue. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't meet him on his level in some way. You should still be able to recognize, okay, Peter, I'm sorry that you felt this way. I'm sorry that this happened to you, whatever this is. Let's see if we can help you deal with that trauma, regardless of the actual origin of it. I get that it's easy to laugh, and we've laughed at a lot of the stuff in this video. So if you think I'm a hypocrite for that, I understand. But while we have fun here, and we get amusement out of the more out there claims that Peter makes, he's a human being. He's a human being who is actually dealing with this anxiety, and he really, really needs help.
It turned into positive, be like, oh, I'm special, I'm protected, and I can help people with these abduction stories and stuff. But like, part of the reason that I make this video is I think that people need to be aware that this stuff's happening. And it's also cathartic for me to talk to people, even if it's strangers, because it's hard to go through these things by myself. People who are abducted kill themselves. They have extreme PTSD. It wreaks havoc on marriages. It's common for people who are abducted to get divorced because it creates so much stress in relationships. People leave churches, stop believing in God. I want to be someone who's an example that you can be abducted, you can be experimented on without your consent. These things can happen to you, and you can still believe in God, go to church, tithe, be married, not really let this affect your relationship with your spouse. Like my wife doesn't really believe in aliens.
Hydrate.
And I'm like, I tell her I'm abducted, and she just doesn't want to hear it, you know?
It's interesting that Peter's wife doesn't believe this stuff. I would have assumed he had, or she had, rather. I wonder how Peter's wife felt about not getting their daughter medical care when she presented with holes in her body.
So it's tough, but I think it's about time I told people everything I knew. And now it's out in the open, and then when I say, like, I've been abducted by aliens, people are like, oh, he's referring to these things. Thank you for listening. If you want to help, maybe you can say something in the comment section, like, are you okay? Like, that's kind of what I've been craving to hear for so long. Like, people are saying, like, are you okay?
Peter, are you okay? You have my email.
How you dealing with all this, because it's hard. I like to take kratom and valerian and cannabis because they're anti-anxiety and they calm me down. And when I'm not on any natural anti-anxiety, I'm just in a state of anxiety all the time, because I'm like, oh crap, am I a lab rat? Are they gonna take me again tonight? They can take my daughter. They can take my wife. What are they gonna do? So there's a lot of paranoia involved. Like I said, people don't really believe me, and that's okay. But I'm hoping someone will, and I hope that people who had these experiences can feel comfortable in knowing that.
See, here's the worrying thing to me. Again, it's good to empathize, and it's good to talk to Peter and be like, hey, I respect that you have this anxiety and trauma around these events, but I don't necessarily think it was aliens. People in his comments are enabling the alien belief. There's a lot of people in his comments that I read earlier that are saying that also happened to me, etc., etc., etc. Which is how people in these online communities can get further and further into these rabbit holes and echo chambers. I don't know. Just the fact that there are other people in his comments echoing his same sentiments is going to make him think, oh, I'm not alone, this must be real, it couldn't have been a dream, even though people often will have, sleep paralysis and dreams based upon sort of cultural memes about certain things, demons, aliens, whatever. Morok with 100 bits says, I'm clinically insane. I've mentioned this a few times, but I struggle with differentiating reality from fiction. But I got help. I have medication and therapy now, and I'm getting better at not believing the lies my sick brain fabricates. Seeing Peter like this is so hard on me because I understand. I'm sorry, but I'm glad that you're helping manage that with therapy and medication.
They're not alone. This happens a lot. There's videos on Amazon, documentaries about people being abducted by aliens, really good documentaries, and that's helped me heal because I'm like, I'm not alone. This is a real phenomenon. It happens. My experiences are very normal, very consistent with other abduction experiences, and yeah. All right. Tomorrow I'm going to do an AMA where you can ask me questions about politics or aliens or me or anything you want. I'm going to do it at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Tomorrow isn't Sunday. Sunday, I'm going to do an AMA. If you want to ask me about my experience with aliens, or if you want to just talk to me about anything, politics, I'd like to connect with my viewers because I do enjoy having relationships with you guys, and I want to talk about aliens, I want to talk about politics, I want to talk about whatever you want to talk about. I just want to talk to people. I like talking to people, especially about things that I'm interested in. So even though I'm not okay with these experiences, even though they have harmed me, I do love the topic of aliens, and it's made me very passionate about it because at the end of the day, even if there's some bad experiences with aliens, a lot of that has stopped. The evil aliens abducting humans has stopped. And right now, the good aliens are in charge of helping Trump and save the world and do other things like that. So the good aliens and the good guys are really focusing on taking out and stopping these evil aliens from doing bad stuff to Earthlings and Earth. And I do believe this, and I think this is all going to come out in the next 2 years.
So again, a concept that's come up in Peter videos in the past, more so in the QAnon stuff, is Q as a coping mechanism. I've talked about this before too. Peter's sort of childlike view of the world, black and white, I think helps him cope with the complexity of the world and his place within it because he doesn't really understand it very well. So, again, like I've said, Peter being, 32, living with his parents, not really... and again, I've, lots of respect for stay-at-home parents, but, Peter is a stay-at-home dad. He tried to have a business a while back that didn't take off, and he wound up in some debt because of that, along with some other issues that have happened to him. I think he's in a hard place, and I think he's looking for answers and solutions, easy ones. So, in order to fix his, living situation, a lot of these QAnon people will believe, well, why is my life not what I want it to be? Why don't I have this or that? Why aren't I as successful as I believe I should be? Society has promised me all this success, the American dream, etc., etc. Why isn't it happening? And instead of looking at structural issues in the country and, complex socioeconomic factors that have led to the immense income inequality and lack of opportunity for people, instead of that, because that's complicated and has a lot of shades of gray within it, Peter instead and a lot of other people opt for conspiracy theory that simplifies things down to black and white, good and evil. So he picks Donald Trump as the good guy, the protagonist of the story that's going to come and defeat the evil in the world. All bad things that have happened to Peter are due to this evil. The deep state, the cabal, the evil aliens, and now Donald Trump is going to come in and fix all that for him. Like that. He'll get his own house, his wife will believe him about aliens, all his friends and family will see the genius that is Peter. And on top of that, the aliens will be defeated because of Donald Trump and the good aliens, and he'll never have to worry about being abducted again. So it's this coping mechanism to take complex issues that he doesn't understand and simplify them down to his level. And coping mechanisms coping mechanisms in and of themselves are neutral. The idea of them. There are healthy coping mechanisms, and there are unhealthy coping mechanisms. This is an unhealthy coping mechanism because it keeps him from seeing the real root of his issues and how to solve those issues realistically in the real world, as opposed to this fantasy where someone else comes in on a white horse and saves him from all the issues that he deals with on a day-to-day basis. So, very, very interesting that Peter's whole life is now centered around a fantasy that all these issues, psychological and material, are going to be instantly solved by Donald Trump, stopping all earthly and intergalactic evil. Interesting. Gorham Reavers 1114, thank you for subscribing for 3 months. Says watching you stream to help with the frustration level while putting together my kid's bunk bed. Well, I wish you the best of luck with that.
So we're in for a roller coaster ride, and like I said, it's going to start on June 29th when the Pentagon declassifies all the information they have about UFOs. They're probably going to say something. They can't say aliens are real because it's too shocking, would shock the world. But they'll say something along the lines of these UFOs have incredible technology. It's not our technology, even though we have the best technology in the world for flight, and we don't know what they are. But really, they're implying they're aliens. Come on.
No, because, again, UFOs in the 1940s and 50s, often it turned out to be were experimental aircraft that were top secret. They weren't alien spacecraft. I would imagine a lot of UFOs nowadays, because UFOs are a thing in the literal sense. They are unidentified flying objects. Doesn't mean they're little green men. It means they're unidentified. Probably a mix of, experimental aircraft, camera malfunction stuff. I saw one that was clearly a bird once. Like, they're unidentified. That's what it means. Doesn't mean they're aliens. Aginated, thank you for continuing your gift sub and credibility problem. Thanks for extending your subscription through September. And Ramonster, thank you for subscribing.
Come on, let's be real here. You don't believe in aliens? Wait till the 29th of June.
Ooh, the 29th of June is when they're gonna tell us aliens are real? Cool.
And the Pentagon says that there's these spaceships flying around all our planet very often, and they're not our human technology. Then you'll be like, well, is that really demons or the spirit world? Is that a dream? Is that hallucination? No, it's aliens.
Credibility problem. Thanks for gifting us up.
Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. I'm sorry if you don't want to hear about aliens. Probably shouldn't be in my channel.
Oh, Peter, I'm interested in whatever you have to say. Please continue. Color by Emmy says, I thought one of Elon's satellite launches was a UFO, but then I checked Twitter. Twitter does help.
Aliens and politics. Same topic right now.
He does believe Trump is coming back in August, so yes.
All right, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and stay safe out there.
Peter got such a better camera recently. Like, seriously, I borderline want to ask Peter, what camera did you buy? It's like a good camera. It's got that sort of, like, depth of field going on, but, like, you can still see him very clearly. Yeah. So that's Peter's most recent pre-recorded video. Very interesting, and also pretty concerning, if I'm being honest with you. But, yeah. I hope Peter gets the help he definitely needs.